Good evening, friends. Important video coming from AP High Court. In the case of Thirumalakonda Plywoods, writ petition number 24235 of 2022. Issue H, time limit as specified under section 16 subsection 4 of CGST Act for availing credit is legal and correct. That was the issue, and constitutional validity of this section 16 subsection 4 was challenged. Alongside, it was also challenged that this time limit as specified under section 16 subsection 4 is violative of article 14, article 19(1)(g), which is right to trade or profession, and article 300 capital A, vested right. Third ground, which was another ground, that in case GSTR 3B is late filed with late fees, and that is being accepted by the department even beyond due date specified, whether it will excuse or exonerate time period as specified for availing credit under section 16 subsection 4. Three important grounds are raised in this particular writ petition. Let's listen one by one. First, we all know that section 16 subsection 4 of the CGST Act, what is the provision that a registered person who is availing credit, he must avail credit through GSTR 3B earliest of two defined date. What are those earliest of two? First, due date of furnishing return under section 39, which is GSTR 3B, for the month of September in next financial year, following the end of relevant previous year, preceding financial year. So this is the provision. So let's say if I'm talking about financial year 1920, then due date for furnishing GSTR 3B under section 39 for September, which is September 2020, and due date going to be 20th October 2020, or date of furnishing annual return, which is by default, and we have seen it's a later date. Due date is otherwise 31st December, that is being defined unless otherwise extended. Now, in a given situation and fact of the case in this writ petition, watch, this petitioner, who is a registered person, for the month of March 2020, he was supposed to file GSTR 3B. He did not file or could not file. The reason was COVID-19, as stated in that writ petition. He has filed this 3B for the month of March 2020 by 27th November 2020. Whereas due date for furnishing 3B for the month of March 2020 was 20th October 2020. So due date, which is time limit for availing credit, was 20th October 2020 for financial year 1920. But he has filed his 3B for the month of March 2020 by 27th November 2020 and issue watch. Can he avail credit beyond the time period specified under section 16 subsection 4 of CGST Act, and disputed amount was 4.78 lakh rupees, 4,78,000 approximate. This is what this writ petition, and it is important for all of us together. We all are talking about whether this time limit provision existing under section 16 subsection 4 is legal and correct. March 2020 का रिटर्न as per section 16 subsection 4 इसको by सितंबर 2020 की जो ड्यू डेट होती है 20 अक्टूबर 2020 तक भरना था, और कब इसने भरा? 27 नवंबर 2020 को। अब इशू यही था कि जो रिटर्न इसने लेट फीस के साथ, दिस GST 3B which was filed with late fees and which was accepted by the tax department, revenue department, but filed beyond the due date, time period specified for availing credit under section 16 subsection 4, this was the issue, whether credit would be available or not available in the GST law. Let's listen very carefully what Hon'ble AP High Court has held. The first point they have said, we have to read the provision of section 16 subsection 1, subsection 2, subsection 3 and subsection 4 in the text and context. We all know that section 16 subsection 1 is the eligibility condition for a registered person to avail GST credit. Section 16 subsection 2, and which was matter of concern, I will tell you what was matter of concern and prayed. Section 16 subsection 2 start with the non-obstante clause. Notwithstanding anything contained in the section, it means, and it was contemplated and being prayed before Hon'ble High Court, that section 16 subsection 2 is overriding by this non-obstante clause. They are overriding the provision of time limit under section 16 subsection 4. This was the one of the point. But let me finish the provision. Listen very carefully. Notwithstanding anything contained in this section, overriding all and everything under this section 16, no registered person shall be entitled to avail ITC, input tax credit, on goods or services or both, unless he has satisfied the following condition. We all know the condition, but let me repeat again. You as a buyer should have tax invoice copy. Second, you must have received goods or services. Third, your supplier must have paid taxes either through e-cash ledger or through e-credit ledger. Fourth, you as a buyer or recipient regularly filing GST return under section 39. Fifth condition got introduced from 1st January 2022. that whatever credit you are availing in 3B must be matched with GSTR 2B. And 2B gets auto-populated by outward supply details furnished by your supplier in a GSTR 1. And then sixth condition, whatever credit gets auto-populated in GSTR 2B should not be restricted, and this provision got notified from 1st October 2022, and six restrictions are being given under section 38. And what are those six restrictions? Very quickly, that for a new registered supplier, there is specified time period restriction may be imposed. Second, if your supplier is defaulter in payment of GST and that default continues for specified time period. 3. If there is mismatch of outward supply liability of your supplier, listen carefully, as shown in GSTR 1 versus GSTR 3B, and that is crossing specified limit. 4. Credit availed by your supplier in 3B is not matching with GSTR 2B and exceeding the specified limit. 5th, that the violation of section 49 subsection 12, that is compulsorily payment of GST liability in cash through cash, meaning thereby one person compulsorily you need to make payment through e-cash ledger. So you should not use beyond 99% of your e-credit ledger. That is the 5th restriction. And 6th, for specified class of persons, some more transaction may be notified. So this is the period March 2020. And provision applicable under section 16 subsection 4 was due date of furnishing return under section 39 for the month of September in next financial year following the end of relevant financial year, like 1920, then September 2020, and due date for filing 3B would be 20th October 2020. But from 1st October 2022, there is a change. This provision got omitted. Now it is 30th November or date of furnishing annual return, whichever is earlier. So I've given you the background of all provision for the understanding. Now coming back to the writ petition. So this petitioner argued before Honorable Court, my lord, section 16 subsection 2 is starting with the non-obstante clause. Hence, it is overriding section 16 subsection 4. For me, I need to satisfy only condition. Having tax invoice, receipt of goods or services, supplier has paid the taxes, and being buyer, I am regularly filing GST return. So for me, time limits should not come in a way, and it should not create hurdles and obstacle for availing credit. When I filed my GSTR 3B for March 2020 with the late fees, and which is accepted by the department, then it will not create a problem of time limit. This was the point which was argued before Honorable AP High Court. Now, what Honorable AP High Court has concluded and held worth noticing. Point number 1. Honorable AP High Court has said that whenever we are reading this section 16, subsection 1, subsection 2 and subsection 4, we have to read in a way of text and context it is being written. Section 16 subsection 2 starting with non-obstante clause But with the negative clause, negative, provision, it is not enabling provision, it is restricting provision. That notwithstanding anything contained in this section, no registered person shall be entitled to avail ITC unless satisfied each condition. So this is restricting clause. Why this restricting clause? Because section 16 subsection 1 is the enabling provision where right to avail credit is being given to the registered person, but section 16 subsection 2 is a restricting clause, starting with the non-obstante clause, then this negative restricting provision. So it is saying, okay, you were having a right and there was enabling provision that you can avail credit, but bear in your mind you need to satisfy this condition. Then going down further, section 16 subsection 4 is creating time limit. For that it is being discussed and being stated in this particular writ petition H that ITC, input tax credit, is a concession or rebate. Even department has argued one important point, that if it is being assumed it is legal right for the registered person, but it cannot be open-ended. Legislature can definitely put the time limit. Listen very carefully. Legislature can put the time limit. As we have seen, when some appeal is to be filed, there is a time limit within which statutory appeal to be filed as provided under Indian Limitation Act. It is in similar line if ITC is being considered as a legal right, even though legislature can put condition of time limit, and that is what section 16 subsection 4. Honorable High Court has upheld 3 important points. Listen very carefully. First, this section 16 subsection 4 is not violative of Article 14, Article 19 1G, right to trade or profession, and Article 300 capital A, vested right. Please bear in your mind, the credit become vested only when we satisfy the condition. So the time period when you are availing credit, that time period, whatever condition existing, you must satisfy those conditions. Once those conditions are satisfied, then it becomes vested right. Please be careful. Article 300 capital A. Second, section 16 subsection 2 is not overriding and not contradictory of section 16 subsection 4. They need to be read independently. So not overriding, not contradictory, and to be read independently. Third, accepting GSTR 3B, which is late filed with the late fees, will not excuse, will not exonerate the time period as specified for availing GST input tax credit. You have to make sure, if you are filing 3B late with the late fees, please file within the time period, which is 20th October 2020 in the fact of the case for availing credit. Just because you have paid the late fees and delayed file GSTR 3B, for you time period get extended under section 16 subsection 4? No way. It will not exonerate. It is not the excuse also. So if you are filing a late 3B beyond the time period specified for availing credit, then quite obvious you are going to lose out that your credit portion, GST input tax credit portion. So three important liner, lot of writ petition pending in other high court. Let's wait and watch, and I'm sure this matter will go up to Supreme Court. But my conclusion, that yes, GST input tax credit is a concession. It's a kind of rebate. It comes with certain condition to be satisfied. It can't be open-ended. So these conditions which is being prescribed need to be satisfied, adhered. Unless satisfied, then will always be, unless satisfied, there will be dispute whether credit is available or not available. It becomes vested right only on satisfaction the condition. Then Article 300 capital A will come into the picture. Otherwise not. In my humble submission, yes, we can always debate that credit is my legal right, but legal right again can't be open-ended. Legislature can definitely put condition and time limit, and that is what it is coming out from this particular writ petition. So AP High Court ने कहा कि सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 4 में जो टाइम लिमिट है for availing credit, it is not violative of Article 14, 19 1G and Article 300 capital A. सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 जो नॉन ऑब्स्टेंटी क्लॉज से स्टार्ट होता है वो सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 4 को ओवरराइड नहीं करता. सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 एक रेस्ट्रिक्टिंग क्लॉज है. जो क्रेडिट आपको सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 1 में अनेबल्ड हुई थी, सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 एक रेस्ट्रिक्शन डालता है कि आपको एक कंडीशन सेटिस्फाई करनी पड़ेंगी. बट दोनों सबसेक्शन, सेक्शन 16 सबसेक्शन 2 एंड सबसेक्शन 4 कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी नहीं है, एंड दे नीड टू बी रेट इंडिपेंडेंटली. और आपने अगर डिलेड GSTR 3B फाइल किया है और वो बियॉन्ड ड्यू डेट स्पेसिफाइड है तो आपकी क्रेडिट is loss, and that is what AP High Court judgment has come. It's worth reading 38 page. Lot of judgment is being cited. What is the meaning of non-obstante clause? What is the meaning of this GST ITC? Is a rebate or concession or a legal right? And what is the context when we read section 16 subsection 2, which is starting with the non-obstante clause versus section 16 subsection 4. जब मैं 3B लेट फाइल करता हूँ, मे बी एमनेस्टी स्कीम, आपका पॉइंट होगा कि हमें एमनेस्टी दी गई, हमें लेट भरने के लिए बोला गया, अब मेरी क्रेडिट मुझे नहीं मिलेगी, आप कह सकते हैं. बट नाउ दे आर सेइंग अनलेस अदरवाइज एक्सटेंडेड. अगर टाइम लिमिट फॉर अवेलिंग क्रेडिट एक्सटेंड नहीं हुई तो आप लेट 3B फाइल कर रहे हैं, तो आप ये मान लीजिए अगर विद इन टाइम आपने नहीं भरा आपको क्रेडिट नहीं मिलेगी. सो इट इज वेरी मच क्लियर एज पर दिस जजमेंट, वर्थ रीडिंग. देयर आर लॉट ऑफ जजमेंट cited, so I am not discussing each of the judgment, but the context and the real theme of this particular writ petition, I have tried my best to narrate in a very simple language to make GST good and simple tax. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.